Hey guys, today I'm gonna do my March wrap-up. So as you can probably tell, I am once again at my parents' house. That's why there's a different background, and also I'm using my iPhone to film today just because that makes the setup a lot easier. So today I'm gonna do my March wrap-up, and March was definitely a lot more stressful than I thought it would be. I definitely thought that I would be able to get more reading done, but then just things kept stacking up and more things that I had to do for my exams and everything, and it just did not go as well as I wanted to, but thankfully I was able to read quite a lot of audiobooks as well this month, so I'm just gonna get into what I read. So first off this month I listened to We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This is a YA contemporary and it's a very kind of subtle and mellow book, and I have to say that while I see why everybody loves this and why so many people are so into this, I just didn't really connect with it, and I just personally didn't really have a great time while reading it. I didn't hate it, I just simply don't think it's the book for me. I definitely liked the grief aspect that was in it. I think that that was very well done, and I thought it was interesting because it was a little bit of a different kind of grief. You will see just when you read the story that there's kind of this like normal states of grief, but there's a different element and a different aspect to it that I really enjoyed, and I thought it was very well done. And I also think that the audiobook is great, the narration is really, really wonderful, and I definitely recommend it. Overall, I ended up just giving it 2.5 out of 5 stars because I, as I said, didn't have like a lot of enjoyment while reading it, but it is a good book and I definitely recommend it overall. Then I read The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. This is also a YA contemporary that I really, really love. This was so adorable and just so much fun. This is exactly what I wanted. Like, it was just one of these really enjoyable books and I just really had such a good time reading it. I did a full video review on it, so I'm gonna leave a link in the info card and in the description down below, but just a couple of my thoughts. As I said, adorable and fun. I thought the romantic storyline was really, really great. There was some really great representation in it. The main character, Abby, is fat and gay. Her love interest is a Mexican-American queer girl, and her best friend is black. And I just really thought that all of the kind of different relationships portrayed in this were really well done. I think even the relationship that Abby had to her mom, which was kind of problematic because her mom is definitely fatphobic and homophobic even in some ways. I thought that it was a very realistic portrayal, and I could definitely see that a lot of people will relate to that relationship, and it was constantly shut down by Abby and also Abby's dad, so I thought overall that was handled well and was just a very realistic aspect to it. And I also thought there were some really, really great friendships in there, and yeah, I just really, really liked it and would definitely recommend it. I gave The Summer of Jordi Perez 4 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalaniti. I always think it's stupid when I listen to audiobooks and then I don't remember how to pronounce the name, but that's just what I do. I wanted to listen to this for a really, really long time, and now I finally picked it up, and I have to say, I don't really get why everybody loves this. It was fine to listen as an audiobook, but I just didn't really find any of the inspiring messages that everybody else seems to find in it. I just really don't think that book was for me. I think I just didn't get it. Something about it, something about the message in it was just something that kind of went over my head. And yeah, I don't know, something just didn't work for me. And I ended up not even giving it a star rating. I think I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but in my personal kind of tracking, I did not even put a star rating in because I just don't know how to rate it, because I just, like, it's not a 1-star book because it's not bad, but I just didn't see where the amazingness in there was. I just didn't see it. Then I read Someday Somewhere by Lindsay Champion. This is also an ARC that I got, but I have not done a video review on it. I'm not sure if I might still do that, but at the moment I just don't really feel like it because I really was not a big fan of that book. I think a lot of things were just not very well done in there, and I actually expected this to be another like fluffy and happy romantic contemporary, but that was not at all what it was. It's super hard to read, and I really don't think that the issues that were brought up in this book were dealt with very well. I do think some things redeem themselves in the end, But overall, I just don't think that it was done well. I think mental illness was kind of used as a plot twist. I think some people will disagree with me, but I personally did not feel very good with how the mental illness was handled over most of the book. And I just, I mean, you could even say that's a spoiler, and I think it's always stupid when mental illness could potentially be a spoiler. I just don't think that's how mental illness is supposed to work. While I also thought that even while the ending definitely redeemed some things, it was still too quick and too cramped. I think if the ending was a little bit longer, if we had more time to redeem these aspects, then I would have felt a little bit more content with what I've read. But it just felt like everything had to be resolved in just a couple of pages, and I think with the severeness of these issues, that just did not work out. Yeah, so I just wasn't really invested in it. I don't think that the relationship was very compelling. I just felt very uncomfortable while reading it, and I honestly wouldn't really recommend it. Although I know a lot of people really loved it, I just didn't really feel it, and I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I really enjoyed this. I think this is another really great book about, well, first of all, it's just about the general life of an American teen, but it's also about the life of a Black American teen in the US and police brutality, and it's really, I thought it was a great mix between these two things. I thought it was just very well done. I would highly recommend Dear Martin. It's definitely hard-hitting. It's not an easy read. The audiobook was incredibly well done. I thought it was also like something where the narrator had a really great mix between having kind of light-hearted narration and then having these intense tragic moments. I thought just great narration. I definitely recommend the audiobook, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Then I also listened to the audiobook of Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I've already read this book, but I wanted to get ready to read Obsidio, and so when I saw the audiobook was available on Overdrive, I thought, you know, why not listen to it so that I can kind of remember the storyline of the first book. And I have to say that I know a lot of people really love the audiobook and really recommend it, and I personally have to disagree. I think the audiobook is not bad, and there's definitely a lot of really great things done in there, but for me personally, compared to the print copy with its amazing format, there's no comparison. I think the print copy is 1,000 times better than the audiobook, and I think that they worked really well with, you know, the material that they had, but I don't think that there's any chance for this to be as good as, you know, the print copy. Obviously, that's just a personal preference. I understand that a lot of people will like the audiobook format more than they like the print copy format, but for me, what I liked so much about Illuminae and what really got me about this science fiction story, which is normally something totally out of my comfort zone, was that it had this special format. So while listening to the audiobook, I kind of realized that really the story is not that amazing. I ended up giving it 4 stars. When I originally read it, I gave it 5 stars, but I kind of even said in my review, these 5 stars are a lot due to the fact that I think the format is so amazing. So now while rereading it, while having a little bit of distance from the story, I just realized that I, you know, don't think the plot is all that amazing. And I mean, 4 stars is obviously still a really great rating, but it just made me realize how much of what I loved about this book was due to the format, and so I thought giving it 4 stars just felt a little bit more accurate for me. But yeah, overall, still a story that I really like, that I'm really invested in. And what definitely was great about this is that I am definitely a little bit more invested with the characters. I had a little bit of an issue getting invested with the characters of the first book, and thanks to the audiobook, thanks to having, especially to Katie, having a voice kind of attached to her, made her a lot more real. And I also thought that Katie's narration in particular was great, amazing. There were a couple of voices in there that I didn't really appreciate. I think especially Aiden. You know, I think if you read Illuminae, then you kind of have a voice in your head for Aiden, and then when you hear that voice, well, you might be lucky and it sounds like what you imagine. For me, it was completely off, and Aiden did not sound at all how I would imagine it to sound like. So that was definitely also an issue. But as I said, Katie definitely was a plus for me in this audiobook, because I just have the feeling that I know her a little bit better now, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Illuminae audiobook. And finally this month I also listened to the audiobook of Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Jordi McGuire. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series, and I just seem to be someone who does not really work well with this series. Now, I did not dislike Every Heart a Doorway, but I just felt a little bit disappointed because I feel like people promised me this portal fantasy when it really was a murder mystery, and I just did not feel so great about that. Down Among the Sticks and Bones is definitely a book where I feel like I got what I wanted and I got what I expected. I thought it read very much like a fairy tale. The audiobook is narrated by Jordi McGuire herself, and I thought was overall well done. Do I think it could have maybe potentially been done better by someone who's actually professionally narrating audiobooks? Yeah, but was it bad? In no way at all. Like, I think it's a perfectly fine audiobook. So yeah, I thought I got what I wanted out of this series from Down Among the Sticks and Bones, but I still cannot seem to find the connection everybody else has with this book or the series in general. I liked it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I just feel kind of indifferent about this series almost, and I will continue because I know every story is kind of gonna be different and we're gonna find out about different kind of worlds, and this one was definitely very interesting. I thought the world building was interesting, the characters were interesting, but something for me about the series just does not click as it does with other people, and that's fine. You know, it's short books, and especially if I can listen to the audiobooks, everything's fine. But I just kind of wish that I could find what other people find in this series, but I just can't. Anyway, this is everything that I read in March. I mean, overall, as you can tell, obviously still a really, really great amount of books and a couple of really great stories that I read this month. I'm not complaining. I just really wish my month had been a little bit less stressful, because I definitely had more plans to read things, but it just did not work out, and that's fine. You know, everything's fine. My exams went well, so I cannot complain, but you know how it is. You know, that's just how it goes. And then next month or something, when I have more time, I end up just not being in the reading mood at all, because that's just how it works, isn't it? Anyway, let me know what your favorite book was that you read in March. Mine was probably The Summer of Jordi Perez. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!